You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Thank you for joining me here today on today's Mindset and Motivation Monday. One of my absolute favorite ways to start the week is being able to share something with you that I believe will help you no matter what your goal. So if your goal is to get well, to heal your body or your mind, whether it is to work on your relationships, boost yourself, move yourself forward in your career, lose the weight, or age more gracefully, what I want to do is share some tips, share some mindset-based strategies you can use to get you closer to your goals faster. That's what it's all about. So again, we all want to be at our goal now, right? But I'll have you step back and actually say to yourself, do you really want to be at that goal right now? And a lot of times, if you really think about it, the answer is no. And I'll tell you why. A big part of it, which I spoke about before on our previous Mindset and Motivation Mondays, is that getting to your goal that fast sometimes doesn't give you all of the joy that you once thought it would. And the reason is that we honestly have to believe this. We have to believe that part of the enjoyment of achieving that goal is the growth and the struggle that we have to go through in order to get to that. And I've spoken about that on previous Mindset and Motivation Mondays. So I do want you to tune back to those shows by simply going to stephencabral.com/podcast. But today what I want to talk about is this, and this is really important, because as we're setting those goals and as we're looking at our life as a whole, sometimes we become completely overwhelmed with either possibilities of what we could achieve, or we become overwhelmed at all of the things that we have to do so that we're not able to, we kind of shrink back into what we can achieve. We become overwhelmed at all of our responsibilities, all of the things that kind of drag us down in everyday life, that give us what we feel no time to be us, to have our time. And so what happens is we do start to shrink. We get smaller and smaller and smaller. I actually just had a conversation. Right now I'm out in Arizona at a great event. I'm going to be speaking to a lot of other health and fitness professionals. And I was just literally out to dinner. I was just out with a group of people, some of them older than me, some of them younger than me, and one of them who's just starting out, really, really smart guy, and I had never met him before. He's talking to me about all these different ideas that he has, but then he ends, so all these amazing ideas start to flow from him, but then he ends the conversation with, but I don't know what to do, but I don't know where to start, so what I really might just do is kind of just go back to doing this, this, and this. And I was like, wow, this person has all of this energy, all of this inspiration. They're obviously kind of like a natural born entrepreneur. I told him, this is how I end the conversation with him. I said, to me, it looks like you're not someone who's actually ever able to work for someone else who's giving you your own schedule to do, giving your own tasks. You need to either be an independent contractor where you can kind of work with clients in your own way. You can do your own thing, or you need to set up your own shop. Because the truth is you have so much to give, but at the end of that, you don't believe in yourself enough, so you start to shrink back and say, oh, maybe I should just take that job. Maybe I should just take the safe route. But I said to him, I said, if you do that, I honestly believe you're going to regret it 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. Because yes, you may have taken the safe route. Yes, you may have taken the paycheck. And yes, you might have had the white picket fence, the 2.2 children, the dog, all of those things for the family. You might have done that, but a big part of you, a big part of your soul, deep within you is going to feel like it died. It gave up. It shrunk down to something less than it could be, right? I had another conversation just this past week with a woman who has so much more to give, but because like a lot of women as well, they feel like they have to choose between their family or themselves. And because a lot of women are so selfless, they're so giving, they say, well, I'm going to choose my children. I'm going to make sure that they have a great life. I'm going to make sure that they're taken care of. And this is one of the most beautiful, selfless things that you can do. But I want you to know that you can be both happy yourself and strong for your children as well. I believe that your children will see the strength in you as well by going for it for what you want to do in your own life too. That doesn't mean neglect your children, not at all. That doesn't mean push aside that motherly instinct to want to give your children the best of everything. I'm not saying that either, but I believe you can be great for you and great for your children. And I don't believe you need to put that off 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I work with so many women right now who are developing their own health practices because they have more to share, a niche in maybe getting moms to have healthy pregnancies, or get moms to get their bodies back after they give birth, or taking care of their children from a holistic standpoint. These are all women that I work with. And I love working with women from a health perspective as well, whether it's their own health or from an entrepreneurial perspective, is because they're giving back. So many women that I work with, and so many women in general, I believe, like, they are natural givers. They give of themselves, maybe too much, so that they lose their own perspective of what they need to achieve for themselves in order to feel fulfilled. These Motivation and Mindset Mondays always go back to being fulfilled, to feeling like you have purpose in life, that what you did has meaning. We all want that in our own life. That is a deep psychological and physiological experience that we must have for ourselves. Denying that means denying yourself as a human being. And that's why I believe one of the ways that we can honestly heal our body is by healing it from a spiritual and physical and mental perspective, on all those planes. That's because if you're angry, if you're irritable, if you're overwhelmed, if you're any one of these things, you're not going to be well. Because that negativity inside you leads to lower oxygen, lower vibration. And just from a physiological perspective, it basically just uses up a lot of minerals. It takes a lot of those electrolytes. It uses up a lot of zinc. It uses up a lot of vitamin C. It uses up a lot of your B vitamins. I mean, that's from a real physiological perspective. This is science. It's not just woo-woo out there, voodoo-based stuff, right? Like a lot of people like to say. This is real. This is actual science, how your psychology affects your physiology. And again, these Mindset and Motivation Mondays take on a life of their own. But what I want to say, and the topic I really wanted to get to today, is I don't want you to shrink down to a smaller version of yourself than the life that you were really meant to live. And we all have different levels. Not all of us are meant to be Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or Warren Buffett or Deepak Chopra or any of those people. There are different levels to this. All we need to do is the best us. And I don't think the best us is any less than all the people that I just named. That's their path. It's not my path. It might not be your path. My path is to do exactly what I'm doing right now, but just to do more of it. So my goals are bigger as well. You know, we're doing well over 100,000 podcast downloads a month. I want to do 1 million podcast downloads per month. Not for me, but that means I've reached 1 million more people, right? So I don't want to change what I'm doing. I want to amplify it. This hasn't always been the way. When I get overwhelmed, maybe just like you, maybe you have the same exact experience. And that's just why I want to share this. Again, these Mindset and Motivation Mondays are things that I'm going through a lot of the times as well, or that I see people going through my practice. But when I get really overwhelmed, when just things start to pile up, they just pile up one on top of the other, on top of the other, on top of the other, I start to get smaller. I start to shrink and I say, well, maybe I should do less. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I shouldn't set those specific goals. You know, a lot of times like, well, you know, maybe I should just kind of sell it all, get rid of everything and just sell my home and just move my whole family to a deserted island and live permanently sipping on margaritas or whatever every day, living a really low-key lifestyle. And a lot of times that's escapism. And a lot of people don't see it that way. They think like, oh, I just want the more relaxed lifestyle. I'm not sure. I really don't know about that. You know, I used to believe that's maybe something that I wanted. Like, oh, I just want to live a really just relaxed life. And I do. Like I have, even though I do a lot, I consider it fun. I consider what I do relaxing for the most part. It really is. You know, I deal with a lot of private wellness clients in my concierge practice. Those issues are intense. There's no doubt about it. But for me, I know I can help them get well. And so it's not that frustrating. It's not that overwhelming. It's none of those things. But I can tell you in the past, like, maybe it's best. Like, maybe I should just like literally, I don't know, move to like the Florida Keys or wherever it might be, like somewhere really relaxed and just have a small little home, and my kids we can go out and we can like forage for berries all day, like something funny like that. But that's, for me, that's escapism. I know that now. Like, that's me saying, oh, you are overwhelmed, so you're shying away from all of these bigger things. You're creating a smaller version of you so that you don't have to think about growth. You don't have to think about doing more. You don't have to think about achieving more because you've decided to play it small. And again, for some people, that lifestyle might be exactly what they're looking to do. That's literally what they're looking to do because they're more into maybe like going inside. They're more into maybe the meditation perspective. They need to go to that quieter place. For me, I realize that's a great place to go to kind of reset. And it is. Like, so my family and I, we take vacations like that all the time, like without a doubt, because I need that quiet time as well. But I know that my bigger mission isn't to do less. It's not to move to a deserted island. It's not to sip on pina coladas all day. It's to actually do more. It's to amplify who I am right now, not change who I am. I don't need to be anybody else, right? And you don't need to be anybody else either. If you're comparing yourself to anyone else, a friend, a family member, someone in your industry, another mom, another father, if you're comparing yourself to anyone else, you are doing yourself a disservice because you don't know their whole life. You might start to cherry pick out all the great points of their life. Like, oh, see how great this person has it. I wish I had this, this, and this. No, not at all. Not at all. That's not the true picture. And if you're on social media, especially Instagram, all these things, you'll see these amazing moments from each person's life. For the most part, they're not showing you the day in and day out. They're not showing you their kid waking up all night crying or having a nightmare or getting sick to their stomach. They're not showing the baby that doesn't sleep for the first year of their life. They're not showing you any of these things. They're showing you the highlights. And so you start to think to yourself, wow, I'm the one with the rough life. But it's not true. And it doesn't mean you need to do less. It's all about perspective. And again, I've spoken about that on previous Mindset Motivation Mondays. It's grateful for what you have right now. Grateful for what you have right now. Even if you're not feeling well, even if you're overweight, even if you're in joint pain or you have joint pain or you're in pain or you have an autoimmune issue or any of those things. Grateful because it could be worse. Could be worse. Could be a lot worse. And you know it could. From a deeper level, you know it could. So what I want you to say is, okay, it could be worse. I'm not happy where I'm at right now. Could be worse. I don't need to shy away though. What I need to do is understand I need to grow. I need to become better. I need to learn more. With that knowledge, with that change in mindset, I'm going to start to get back on track. And I also have to understand at the same time that in the future, I will encounter obstacles. There will be challenges for me to overcome. Because if there weren't any challenges for you to overcome, how could you grow? You wouldn't be able to. The only time you grow is when you are overcoming something that you haven't encountered before. So all the people with digestive issues, all the people with the acid reflux, the headaches, the migraines, the joint pain, whatever it might be, or even where you're at in your career, or relationships, you can't seem to find the right person, or you're always struggling to connect with your children, any one of these things. The only way to get to the other side of that is to encounter the obstacles you face day in and day out. And there is an answer for it. There absolutely is. You just haven't found it yet. But you know what? You have to find the answer. It's part of your journey. When you find the answer, you will then grow. That's how you grow. That's how you become better. I wasn't able to do a podcast and answer dozens of questions on the weekend host calls without first encountering many of those things myself, without putting in the time to reading the books, right? Without going above and beyond what I felt I needed to do in order to get the education that I needed. And how did I do that? I read, listened to podcasts. Well, there wasn't really podcasts back then, but I do now. And I studied with great mentors. So someone has the answers. Someone's always had the answers. Name your disease. Pick a disease. Pick anything right now. Pick anything. Someone's overcome it. Cancer, autoimmune, digestive issues, psoriasis, eczema. Someone's overcome it. And if they've overcome it, you can too. That's the thing. What about career-wise? Well, you want to get deeper in your career. What are the people doing? And I'm going to talk about that in a future show as well, to get to that level in your industry or whatever it might be. And going back to what I was saying before, what about you? What about you trying to always do less because you're feeling overwhelmed right now? What's the one step that you can take? What's the one big obstacle that you're facing right now? What's the thing that's making you shy away, that's making you shrink down? Is it time? If it's time, try to follow my rule too about just waking up just a little bit earlier, right? This is one of the big things I give moms and dads as well. You have a family. Well, your kids wake up at, let's just say 6:30 a.m. That means you need to wake up an hour before they do, 90 minutes before they do. I know it's early, but you have to get to bed earlier then. Or you need to carve out lunchtime. Maybe lunchtime is your time. Or maybe they nap for an hour. I know that's not, believe me, as a parent, I know it's not always set in stone if they're going to nap or not. Or maybe it's an hour before bed if you're not a morning person. But you carve out that hour and you do it day in and day out. And if you do that 5 days a week, well, that's 20 hours a month, right? If my math is right, that's 20 hours a month. That's a long time. That's a lot of hours. And if you're able to do that, I think that's somewhere around, 1,000 hours a year? Is that somewhere around there, correct? I can't speak and do math at the same time. That can really move you forward in anything that you're looking to achieve. So I want you to have the goals. I want you to have the ambition. I don't want you to shy away from life. I don't believe life or what you're put here for is for you to play it small. I don't believe that. And I don't believe the future is your place to put your better days, to quote Dave Matthews back in the day. The future is no place to put your better days. It's not. And it doesn't mean you need to achieve your goals tomorrow. It doesn't. It means that if you're looking to expand, if you're looking to grow, simply start the wheels moving forward, right? Write down in a journal. Write down on the notes in your iPhone the things that you want to achieve. Just write them down. Get the positive thoughts flowing. Don't think about doing less. Think about doing more. Think about being of service to others in some way. When you do that, I'm telling you, that puts you in the positive mindset. Even if you could just start your day that way, 10 minutes, get up 10 minutes earlier. That's it. Start to think about, okay, what is it that I really want to achieve? Do that for 30 days. You don't even need to take action for 30 days. You're not taking action now, right? So take another 30 days. Think about it. Get clear. What do you want to achieve? What is it that you want to be? Or forget about for you, what is it then that you want to do more for your family, for your community, for your church? What is all the things that you want to do? Because that also can be part of your mission. Your mission doesn't always have to be about you necessarily moving forward, but it is always about you being of service to others. You being of service to the greater community as a whole. It is always about that for sure. And again, that's why it's not always sole focused, but it is about you. And I want you to think this, last in closing right here, that anytime you are feeling like you need to run away, that you need to escape, I want you to think about something. Instead of running away, what can you run towards? What inspires you to move forward? Stick with that thought. What inspires you to move forward? It's usually the opposite of what's frightening you right now, right? It's like, oh, well, I don't have the education, or my voice really doesn't matter. It's any one of those things. What would it take for people to want to believe in you? What is your niche? And just remember, we all have those feelings, right? And a lot of the times, what gets us out of those feelings is simply taking action. I want you to take small steps forward. Believe a little bit more in yourself. Don't run away. Don't shrink. Move towards what inspires you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into another Cabral's Concept. Really do appreciate each and every one of your listens. I hope this show helped you. And if it did, please feel free to share it with anyone else you believe it could help. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only two ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to stephencabral.com/rainbarrel.